strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it is in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Beth Williams is an investment advisor representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corp., a registered investment advisor. Megan Carney, Megan S. Carney PLLC, and Financial Arc Builders are not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corp.
Welcome to Money Healing. I'm your co-host, Beth Williams.
And I'm your other co-host, Megan Carney. We're here to talk about money and our feelings related to it. I'm a psychologist who specializes in helping sensitive people.
And I'm a financial planner. We both talk to everyday people just like you about these topics.
Everyone's mental health and money health journeys are so different. And as unique as we all are, there are some common themes when it comes to how our emotions impact our money and vice versa.
And it's those common themes that we are going to be discussing together, both the themes themselves and some ideas from us about how to move forward and heal your relationship with money. In the next bit of episodes, Megan and I will be unpacking the various emotions and trauma themes that we've encountered within our observations over the last few years.
We discovered that people fell into one of two camps, one that knows their numbers and where they are financially, and those that don't know their numbers and where they are financially. We recommend that you go through the episodes and listen to the ones you believe may apply to you.
Megan and I are big advocates for getting collaborative support for both your mental health and your financial health journey. As you listen, we recommend that you pay attention to yourself, your reactions emotionally, and reach out to either a mental health professional and or a financial professional to help you deal with your relationship with money.
We'll begin by discussing I don't know my numbers and blank. Is there something that comes after that? Emotional themes we'll discuss within that will be fear, avoidance. What happens if I lose or fail? Shame, guilt, and even domestic violence and abuse, with the overarching theme of trauma.
We will then discuss I know my numbers and blank. Some of the emotional themes that we'll discuss within that will be hopelessness, fear, shame, embarrassment, burnout, never enough, feeling lost, undervalued, worry, and then we'll also deal with the overarching theme of trauma. Welcome back to this episode of Money Healing. In this episode, we'll be talking about I know my numbers, I get financial help, I still have issues. And in this one, we'll talk about I'm afraid of what happens if I succeed. Now, Megan, I do think that there's some sort of stigma around having money and being ashamed of it. It's almost like we're afraid that people are going to think that we're better than them or something. And so I'm kind of curious, where do you think some of those issues are coming from?
Okay, well, definitely, I think a lot of it comes from what we see in the media. Like, think of some of the shows that have had some success recently, like White Lotus or Succession. Those are specifically built around like the idea of what rich people are, these people who have financially succeeded. And I think it's fair to say they are not portrayed well, right? In those shows. I don't know if you've watched either of them, but they're not. Even in books, I just read a book where they were portraying this family who had just tons and tons of money as just quite awful and quite dysfunctional. And so there is this like narrative around the idea that if you have money, if you succeed, that you are somehow a bad person, because they're almost always in the media portrayed as bad people. And I have a hard time believing that every single person who has money is a bad person. I've seen examples of people who do have money, who are good people, who are donating to causes that they really care about, who don't appear to be from dysfunctional families, or if they are from dysfunctional families, have healed their own stuff. And that tells me, like, you can be a good person and succeed. There are business people I know in the business world, maybe not like personally, but you do this kind of stuff enough, you see it. You're getting ads in your face all the time. There are people who are succeeding who are good people. So I think it's a little bit hard because we're always thrown in our face the idea of these people who aren't good, right? Like the dad from Succession. Like, I don't think anybody really wants him to be their dad.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I do think that maybe there's some misunderstanding of how wealth is accumulated, and maybe that goes into what it is that you're saying. I haven't seen the shows, but I could definitely understand that that would be a misunderstanding around where wealth comes from, and understanding that you actually are wealthy, even in a global sense, is a really good reality check. Again, that kind of goes into what we talked about in this last episode of what is enough.
Right. And so if you succeed, right, like that automatically means like, oh, I guess I was good enough because I succeeded, right? Ooh, now we're getting into some stuff. And there tends to be this, like, if you came into it with this never enough, I'm never good enough type of feeling, then there can also be this belief paired with it that, like, you're not deserving. I didn't deserve this success. I shouldn't have succeeded. I don't deserve this money, so I shouldn't spend it on the things that I want to spend it on. I wonder if you see people who do have this success who feel like they don't deserve it.
I do run into that sometimes. A really complex case would be one that would take an entire book to describe and had taken 20 years to unravel. But where someone inherited some funds, basically. Somebody inherited some money, and they don't feel like they were the right recipient for those funds. I see this a lot, and without getting into the nitty-gritty details, because again, those would take all day. They don't think that they were the right person to get the funds. And so now you're wrapped up in grieving this person, or whatever it is that happened. And then on top of that, now you've got all of a sudden some wealth, and you're not sure that you're the right person to own that. So again, without getting too far into the details, I would say that that's probably the most common one that I would see. And it is a very unfortunate and a very complicated kind of case to try to work through for every single one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in a case like that where, it's grief, you've got to manage the grief first, right? You've got to let yourself have the space to grieve and not even necessarily need to think about or do much of anything, if anything at all, other than what's absolutely necessary with the financial piece of things. Like you've got to at least get through the initial grief first. But there's something really interesting there, that whoever left that money to the person who inherited it, that person believed they deserved it. That person wanted that money to go to whoever it went to. And so to me, it feels like the respectful thing to do to accept that gift and respect that person's wishes.
So Megan, I wonder, are there some
issues around like maybe guilt or shame, or what do you think are some of the emotions?
Oh, absolutely. Guilt and shame, right? Like, if you're afraid of succeeding, like, let's ask why. Why would you be afraid of getting what you want? And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, we're really concerned about how other people are going to perceive us, to think about us, to judge us. And so absolutely there's going to be some shame, some guilt if we're concerned about what does that mean if I succeed.
I I wonder if someone gets to the point where they understand what it is that enough is, and we've
Mhm.
unpacked a lot about this in this
Yeah.
podcast so far about what that means for each person. For me, that there's like a sense of relief of like
Mhm.
being at peace on knowing that this is who I am and this is what I value and this is what enough means to me and I've defined it. Now I
Mhm.
can rest back and enjoy the fact that I have made that commitment to what it is that's enough for me. And so I wonder why we would get anything other than peace in that understanding of what it is that what we want and what we need.
Well, more money, more problems, right? I think it is one of the things that people often assume is true, rightfully or not, that like if we have more money, more problems are going to come our way. More people are going to be asking us for things. Maybe we're going to like feel more guilt that we should be donating more to like all the causes instead of just like your top three. Which then can actually bring up some more like, oh, it's still not enough, right? Um, so there's a lot wrapped up in that. But having enough, like, can you imagine you finally get to that point where you have everything that you could have hoped for? Maybe you even have a little bit extra, and you see a friend who's really struggling. They don't have enough right now. And you have enough, more than enough. You have ease. Like, what feeling comes up? For me, it probably would be some guilt, right? Like, oh, I have enough to like go out to eat at this fancy dinner, and they are like scraping by.
I think in some senses, it's like maybe what you were talking about before, where we've got as a society this idea about what the top percent looks like, or
Mhm.
what they should be doing with their money, or
Mhm.
you've got this idea of trickle down economics. And there's a whole bunch of stuff around like how that life lives. And maybe that's misunderstood. But then also, maybe it's that maybe it's not any of our business to decide what it is that another person should be doing with their funds. And just
Mhm.
because you individually aren't maybe being the recipient of that, or you individually haven't had a conversation with that person, that's where sometimes I'll question, okay, is that outside of our control or is that inside of our control? And is that appropriate or is that not? Because that's
Yeah.
somebody else's life and they've got their own stuff that they're dealing with. And so maybe
Mhm.
we just need to step outside of it and just relax
Mhm.
and not worry about it.
Mhm. And that doesn't mean that we don't have to like not think about it at all. I'm actually relating this back to like the drama triangle. Have you ever heard of that? The drama triangle is this dynamic where you have a victim and you have a perpetrator. So someone has done something bad to somebody else who is very much in the like victim role. And there's a third point on a triangle, right? That's the rescuer. The person who comes in and tries to rescue the victim, or tries to fix things, or tries to keep the peace, tries to make it all better. And a lot of times, like the more privilege you have, the easier it is to like see yourself in that rescuer role, right? Because you have the means, you have the ability, and you don't want to see that dynamic, right? You don't want to see somebody harming somebody else, and that person can be seen as like the helpless victim. So we swoop into the rescue. But when we do that, that person never learns to help themselves or to ask for the specific help that they need. Because I'm not saying like the victim should figure it all out on their own, all by themselves in isolation. That is just not appropriate. But we don't want them to just become helpless. And so if we're always swooping into the rescue, like if we're just throwing money at this problem, right? Like if that's what we think success is I've got all of this money and we just throw money at what we see as like the problem, then we're just trying to like rescue it and fix it the way we think it should be fixed, which might not be the way that the person in that role really thinks it needs to be fixed.
Megan, on kind of a niche topic for this kind of concept, I will say for fellow people who were raised religious, and we, I think, maybe glorify the people who didn't have a lot of money, like Jesus or Gandhi or Buddha or you know, any of these like religious heads where it didn't look like they had a whole lot of money. Mother Teresa might be another example of these people that we maybe over glorify. And I have had a couple of cases where they have some religious trauma that goes along with it, where they don't feel like they can actually be a good person and have money to back it up. And I think that would be a totally different trauma issue, wouldn't it?
It is. The religious trauma issue is very different because my experience, I have clients that have religious trauma, deep religious trauma. With religious trauma, I find there's often many threads to it. Like I think of like a dandelion and the roots that just like, maybe there's one that's big and solid and deep, but then there's a ton of little roots coming off of it underneath. And there's just so much to unpack with that and to heal from with it, that absolutely, like you're put up on a pedestal for like being a martyr, essentially, right? And I'm not convinced that any of those people would have wanted us to all martyr ourselves. I think what we're going for, actually, in my world, is like collective care. We are all caring about each other. We are all taking on the roles that we can fill in the ways that we can fill them based on our gifts, our abilities, our needs, our areas where we lack. And if we don't all stay connected, if we're not all caring for each other, then it's not going to work. And that's why there's had to have been martyrs in the past, because we weren't all caring for each other.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And it's funny because I will have some clients that I'm again putting words in their mouth where I would think that they have so much religious shame and guilt around having success and having money, and they will almost to their own demise give it away. And it's fine if that's within your value system. Again, I'm more concerned about what is the value system than I am the dollar amount. But if it's within your value system to go live in a tent on the river, then that's great, and I'm very happy for you. But if you're sacrificing your own health and your own financial stability in the name of a religion, I don't know that that's a very healthy way to decide what to do.
Right. If it's the shame or the guilt that's driving the bus or the van down by the river, then yeah, that's not as healthy as if it's your own true values that are saying, this is what I want to do. This is all I need and want, and I am perfectly content. To wrap things up, if you are afraid of succeeding, you're probably not going to succeed. So if you really actually do want to succeed, there's something to work on there.
Thank you for joining this very deep episode of Money Healing. I know none of you are surprised. We are going to be talking this next episode about I don't know what I want the money for, and we'll continue on that theme in that episode.